welcome to another great card tutorial day. I am so excited to share with you a fun card that is like a just because card. One of my favorite cards to send is one that says just a note, because it could be for any occasion. Thinking of you for their birthday, just to say hello, maybe it's a thank you. It serves all kinds of occasions, and that's what we're going to create today with our Just a Note set, and we're actually going to use our sweet jar set. We're going to pair those together. We're going to do some fun foil techniques using some adhesive sheets, and I think you're really going to love today's card. So let's get started. All right, here is our sets that we're going to be using, the Just a Note set. I love this one. It's got the lined paper stamp, which is super fun. You can put anything on that, right? We've got Just a Note. That's the sentiment we're going to use today. And then you also have some others. You've got this, some fun imagery, best ever, happy back to school for all those kiddos going to school, right? Or for our teacher friends going back to school. And then this set, you can get a bundle with the Just a Note dies. And there is this cute paper die, so we're going to use that today. We've got some fun clips, so we've got like paper clips, we've got a binder clip that we could put together, we've got one of those big clipboard clips, and another paper clip, a heart-shaped paper clip, some little note things. I don't know, this just makes my paper-loving heart happy, this set, because if I go into a stationery store or go down the school supply section at the store, I'm just in heaven, right? So this speaks to that, but it's a really, really fun set that I think you could use in lots of ways. We're also going to pair it with the sweet jar set today. This one has this great jar and all these fun things you can put inside. Plus, it also is bundled where you can get the sweet jar punch. And so when you stamp this, you can just punch it right out, easy peasy. So we will use that today. I'm going to show you today's card. I know you're dying to see it. So Just a Note. And then look, we have this sweet jar full of paper clips. We've got our Just a Note sentiment, and then it's going to open up to a fun paper clip and some beautiful paper inside. So that's what we're going to make today. If you love this card and would love the pre-cut pieces to make this card, you can actually earn a freebie from me every single week. So this week, starting today, it will be this card all the way till next Wednesday evening, and you will get all the pre-cut supplies to make 3 of these cards. So you get 3 pre-cut pieces to all of these already cut ready for you to make this card, plus the printed tutorial with all the step-by-step instructions for you to make those. So you can find those details on my blog at stampinqueenbee.com. If you're part of my email list, you also get that emailed to you each week. My Buzz Bulletin, it's a free email list, and I just love providing that free weekly tutorial for you each week. And if you want the pre-cut pieces, that's a little freebie I love to offer you as well. Okay, so let's get started with today's card. We're going to start with our stamping. So let me move this out of the way, and I'm just going to bring in a piece of basic white. So the first thing we're going to stamp is our lines on our paper. So I've got that stamp all ready to go. We're going to use Pool Party because it just, to me, looks like that standard lined paper that we use in school, right? So my tip for this is we're going to ink this up and we're going to stamp it before we die cut it. Because what I found is when I die cut it and tried to stamp it, my lines didn't line up. So this way I can just kind of stamp it and not worry about it. Pull that up. And then when I go to die cut this, I'll just grab my die here. So here's my paper border die. And I will line this up, this edge, with those lines. And now they're straight. So when I tried to stamp on the die cut, they kind of were crooked, right? So for me, it was just much easier if I stamped that and went ahead and die cut it. And so I already did that for us, magic of YouTube, right? I did that for us. So we have that piece that we will use. And then let me put my die aside here. And we'll close up our Pool Party And we're gonna bring in some basic gray. So we're gonna stamp our jar, our sentiment. So we've got our basic gray here. One of my favorite ink pads is basic gray because it's kind of not as harsh as maybe the black might be, and it still looks crisp and nice. So I'm just gonna take my jar stamp, and we're gonna go ahead and stamp that down. See how crisp that looks? We're also going to need a jar lid. So we're just gonna ink our lid up here, and we'll go ahead and stamp that down. So we've got our jar lid, and then we bring in this piece here that we already stamped on. I've got my just a note. We're gonna lightly ink this up because we wanna make sure we don't get anything on the outer edge. And then we're just gonna kind of eyeball this and stamp that down. So we've got our just a note. It doesn't have to be exactly on the lines. We just wanna get it down there, right? So you can also write on those lines. This is great to put inside of a card because that gives you the lines to write your message, right? I'm gonna bring in that punch, that jar punch, and so I'm just gonna line my lid up first and punch that through. And there we have our lid, and then we'll line up our jar here and punch that through, and now we have our jar. So see how easy those punches are? I love that. Okay, so I'm gonna set all that aside. We've got all our pieces, so let's bring in our card base now. So I just used some Lost Lagoon, and we just cut our 8.5 by 11 paper in half and scored it in the middle. Remember, all the measurements for today's card will be on that free tutorial that I will email out to all my Buzz Bulletin subscribers, my email subscribers. If you're not part of my list, you can freely subscribe on my blog at stampinqueenbee.com. There's a pop-up on there, and if you haven't yet subscribed, you can go ahead and do that. It's also in the description box of this video. Okay, so now we're gonna just start putting our parts and pieces together. So we've got our inside layer here, which is just some basic white, and I have a scrap piece. This is from the Everyday You and Me paper, designer paper, and we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna add this little scrap piece at the bottom just to give our basic white a little extra. So I always cut this a tad bigger because I want it to line up. And then I just grab my paper snips once it's on there where I want it and trim off any excess. So then this piece is going to go right on the inside of our card. Just add our liquid glue there, and we'll go ahead and put that right down. Makes a beautiful inside when you just add that little bit of designer paper, right? Okay. So then we're just going to add our layers. We've got some early espresso cardstock here. This will be our front piece. We'll just center that right on there. And another of that same Everyday You and Me paper. Love that designer paper. And we're just going to go ahead and add that right in the center. So when we layer these up, it just gives it a real wow factor, right? Your card is more sturdy, and it just gives it a little bit of that extra. So then we're gonna take our piece that our paper piece that we stamped and die cut, and then I have a piece here that I cut to layer this. This is from the Country Woods. It's kind of that wood grain paper, and to me it kind of looks like a clipboard. So we're gonna go ahead and add our note paper to this clipboard we're making. And we'll go ahead and center that right on there. And then we'll add our glue to the back of this. And we're gonna take this piece and we're gonna actually put this on kind of a diagonal right in our layers there. And I just like to kind of hold it down a second so we make sure that that gets secure. Okay, so now I'm going to put these aside and let that dry. And I want to show you a fun trick. So we're going to be using some beautiful foil paper. So this is the Flower Garden foil. So you can see it's metallic flower kind of printed specialty paper. It's so beautiful. And so cloud cover is actually this piece that we're going to be using. So you can see it's got those embossed, almost looks like metal, right? But it's in that cloud cover and there's some kind of florals. So we're going to use a piece of that. And we're going to do some die cutting with this. But before we do that, the dies that we're going to be using create these really thin paper clips, right? And so putting adhesive and glue on those can sometimes be really tricky. So I love to use our magical adhesive sheets. So they come in a package like this, and they're kind of like sticky backed paper, and they're sticky on this side and sticky on this side. So when we take our foil paper, we're going to put this on the back, and what we're essentially going to be creating is our own sticker paper. Oh, what? Then when we run this through the die cut, it's going to make these really easy to put on our project. So adhesive sheets are what I use. They are awesome. They come in a pack of 12. They are 12 by 6 in size, and you can just cut them down. So I have this piece here that we're going to use. I'm going to show you how to put this on, and then I'm going to show you how it works. So it's kind of sticky backed, so you can see there's kind of these little panels. So I've already cut this down a tiny bit smaller than the piece that I'm working with. And so I'm just going to start by adding that first panel. Then I'm going to take off the next piece. Now this is glue right here. This is all adhesive. And so I'm just going to push that piece down. And we kind of have this third panel here. So I'll peel that. You can actually see that adhesive on there? Okay, so then we're just going to push this down so it's all flat and nice on there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take whatever we're going to die cut, we're going to put that on there. And then when it's die cut, here is the magic, is then you can just peel the back off of here. Now this is not die cut, but if I wanted to just make this whole piece sticky, can you see that adhesive on there? So now that adhesive is on my foil and I can stick it right to my project. So once this is on here, we can stick our dies right on top. And so I did that. And so then I die cut them out of a piece about that size, and I got all of these pieces. And so I just did it to quicken it up for us, but we've got the top of our clipboard, we've got our little heart paper clips, and of course all of our little paper clips. And so it would come out like that, but now all of these have adhesive on the back, and I don't have to fiddle with trying to put glue on the back of these tiny pieces. So that is your adhesive sheet class of the day, of the week, of the month, right? So we're gonna use those. And let me just clear some of this out of the way so that we can create our fun clipboard. So our clip piece here, I'm actually going to put this on. So you could sticky this, but I want this raised up kind of like a clipboard. So I'm actually going to put a dimensional right on the back there. And this is just going to go right above my just a note. And look, isn't that just cute? It looks totally just like a fun clipboard. And then we have our jar here. And so this is where that kind of magic is going to happen. So I'm going to first take my jar, my empty jar, and we're going to add some dimensionals to this. And let's see, maybe 5 of these. We don't want it lumpy, right? Or sagging or anything. So we're just going to peel the backings off of those. And we're going to add our jar just kind of to the bottom here of our card. We're going to take our jar lid. This one I am going to add just a little bit of liquid glue. Spread that on there. And I'm just gonna kind of put this at the bottom, like almost like I took the lid off and set it right next to it, right? And now here comes our magic adhesive sheets in action. So these paper clips, this is what inspired me to do that, because they are really thin, right? Paper clips are thin, and so they are not the easiest. But when we put our adhesive sheets, look how easy that is. So now I can just stick my paper clips down, and they are now stuck on there. No adhesive all over me, no fiddling with the glue. Easy, easy, easy. So I'm just gonna put 3 of these just kind of right on top of each other. You know how paper clips kind of get all tangled up in the jars, right? So we're just gonna add 3 of those right to our jar. So they look like they're in our jar. And then I kind of liked one of them sticking out. So what I did is I just peeled that off from that top layer, and then I just kind of tucked it behind and stick this piece that I took that sticky off of right over, and there we go. So now it's stuck there to the top of my jar. So we've got our paper clip, we've got our other little paper clips. Now we want to put one on the inside of our card. So that's where this little heart comes in. So you can see in our example, I tucked this heart kind of behind. So I'm just gonna peel off the sticky here, and we're gonna put this right at the top, and just this little top piece is going to look like it's kind of tucked behind that paper, like we have a paper clip up there. Isn't that fun? And those adhesive sheets make it so easy to add those paper clip layers and those intricate pieces that we have sometimes, right? Okay, so now of course we're going to finish it with some embellishments. So we've got our 25-27 in color flat pearl embellishments, and we're actually going to use the cloud cover, which matches this here. And so I'm just going to use my take your pick tool. I'm going to put one up in this corner, and then we're going to put a couple here on our paper, on our clipboard, right next to all of that. Isn't that so fun? I love just a note cards, because they can be used for anything, right? Anything that we want to use it for. So if you love this card and want to get the kit for this week, remember, it's a freebie from me with your $50 or more online order in my online store, and I will be sending those out to you. And let me just run back here so you can see one more time our card. And I'll pop on just to say thank you again for watching, for liking, for subscribing. I love all the comments you guys leave me. You are the best, and I am truly grateful for each and every one of you. So I'll see you next week for another fun card. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.